While we are recording this morning, it's come out that Jerry Lawler is no longer under a WWE contract. I suppose that WWE decided not to renew his contract. I know that the King had some health challenges, but I think he's been there since I know there was a break there once upon a time, but I think he's been there like 22 years. The idea that Lawler's no longer under a contract. I mean, I guess he has a Legends deal.
Longer than that.
I mean, 92, you don't think that wasn't
That's
the
30
year?
years.
Oh, that's 32 years. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long ass time with one company and an incredible run. And I know that, yeah, as I said, Jerry had some health challenges, but well, I just sure do hate to read that. It feels like the end of an era. I know you're one of Jerry Lawler's biggest fans. What'd you think of that report that seemingly his days on camera with WWE are coming to a close?
I have gotten so much feedback over the last week of two things. One, the Q band, people are really asking. Folks, go to the q3health.com and if you want to learn more, it's the real deal. But the Lawler episode, and they were like, man, I can't wait for part two. And I, get into the conversation and a couple of the conversations that I had was I said, I don't think people really understand the talent that Lawler had. Today, you see him and known him, okay, for the last 32 years, is really a color commentator, and that's it. But for a color commentator to be a part of an organization that long, just to me tells you how talented he really is. And so he broke in early 70s, so 20 years. He worked for basically my father or himself were partners with that, and then the next 30 for the WWE. It goes without saying, Endeavor is looking for change, and there's more changes. It seems like every week there's, continues to cut back, and I get all that. There's a huge transition. The WWE that we knew for the last, when they go public, 99. So for the last 24, 25 years is no more. There will continue to be changes. I get it. But what a career Jerry Lawler has had. It is unbelievable.
Speaking of unbelievable, we've got quite a group here. This Filthy Animals group, I feel like was underrated. Konnan on commentary, cool as the other side of the pillow, not on commentary, but on the mic, standing next to a pretty jacked, unmasked Rey Mysterio, Billy Kidman, and Tori Wilson looking roll tide. This is a great presentation here. Konnan being the guy on the mic leading the charge, that really works for me.
Look, he's still doing his creative that he has done for many, many years in Mexico. But what a mouthpiece, what a talker. Would you say he's the best bilingual promo in the history of our business?
Without question.
I mean, he's just that to me fascinates me how he can do that. But the Filthy Animals, we had a match, 6-man, me and the Harris Boys against those guys in DC on a Starcade. But they gelled. They were, I gotta say this as diplomatically as possible. But during this era, but that group was absolutely resonating with the fan base, big time. They were over. People loved them. Is Konnan's talk.
Put that into context. I mean, you've spent a lot of time in Mexico, and a lot of our listeners, they don't keep up with what happens wrestling wise south of the border. But can you contextualize for American listeners the star power and the place in Lucha Libre history that Konnan holds?
In Lucha Libre history is what you're asking, right? Imagine if John Cena was also the booker, the creative officer, the writer, if you will, the character developer. Because I don't want to put just one thing on it, but Konnan has basically dominated the Lucha Libre scene really since he splashed onto it back in, gosh, that would be late 80s, early 90s, and has stayed different facets of time. He was the top star. He was, heel, babyface for many, many years. But then he got into management and not only wrote the shows, but I'm saying discover talent, nurture talent, book talent, all the way up to the run to main event talent. And I could go over countless of talents that he's developed. When you look back at WCW at the height of Nitro, I think everyone, definitely credits the NWO with the very top of the ratings, reasons why it dominated in the 83 weeks. But as a part of the presentation of Nitro, you have to give, for the first time on American television in a real prominent role, the cruiserweight. That was Eric and Eric Bischoff and Konnan having a relationship, and the world got to see Rey Mysterio, Psychosis, Juventud Guerrero, Silver King, the Villanos. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So he has played such a critical role. And every time I was at TNA, LAX and Konnan always helped me out. So he's been a prominent force in American wrestling, but at the very tip top at Lucha Libre Wrestling for 30 plus years. We're just talking about Lawler, man. Think of kind of the analogy there. They just been on top for so long and really important. And it goes back to them understanding the business. They knew how to get themselves over, and then they translated that to other talent. Countless amount of talent. The amount of talent that Lawler has played a hand in developing talent through the Memphis years. I mean, he came up with the idea of the Rock and Roll Express. I mean, we could go through Kamala the Ugandan Giant, him and my dad, and talent after talent after talent. Just very, very creative.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what AdFreeShows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-Free Shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that AdFreeShows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. AdFreeShows.com.